We often think we understand what lies behind a disappearance, until multiple lives converge into a pattern no investigator ever anticipated. Stephen Hicks, 28, a handyman in Indianapolis, was last seen in the early morning of May 1982 near the White River. Known for his reliability and discretion, he had a small circle of friends, a part-time job at a garage, and spent his evenings listening to music or attending local community events. His apartment was orderly, his routines predictable. That day, he left for a supposed work appointment and never returned. His family, unable to reach him by phone, began searching, alerting neighbors, posting missing person notices. Days turned into weeks, and his absence became a troubling reality. Investigators combed the area, interviewed contacts, but nothing concrete emerged. No signs of struggle, no witnesses, no apparent reason for his disappearance. A faint lead arose when a friend mentioned a man who sometimes offered help with carpentry near the river, but the trail quickly went cold. A few months later, another young man, 24-year-old Matthew Bowman, a student and part-time bookstore employee, vanished after closing the store on a Thursday evening. He had planned to visit a friend downtown but never arrived. Surveillance cameras captured him walking toward his car, then the footage abruptly ended. Police followed several leads, each fading quickly. Was this an isolated abduction, or part of something more systematic? The question remained unanswered. In 1984, a third disappearance shook the community. John Brewer, 30, a well-liked office assistant, went missing during a jog near the White River. Witnesses reported a dark vehicle parked unusually along his route. Police recovered his wallet on the riverbank, but no other clues. Case files revealed striking similarities. All were young men, mostly locals, with predictable routines, all disappearing without a trace, last seen near the White River, an area that would become central to the investigation. Meanwhile, a man lived an outwardly ordinary life in the same city. Born in April 1947 in Indianapolis, Herbert Richard Baumeister grew up in a middle-class family of German-American descent. He was the eldest of 4 children, and from childhood, exhibited behaviors that puzzled those around him. At school, he showed interest in varied subjects, but stood out for unusual acts such as placing dead animals or urinating on desks, documented by witnesses of the time. Later, his family sought psychiatric evaluation, which diagnosed paranoid schizophrenia and personality disorder, though he received little ongoing follow-up after a nearly 2-month hospitalization shortly after his 1971 marriage. Herb married Juliana, Saiter, whom he met at university, and the couple had 3 children. On the surface, family life appeared normal. Owner of thrift stores, including his business Foxfire Discount, socially engaged, married, a father. Yet personal details were unusual. According to later interviews, the couple had very infrequent intimate relations throughout their marriage, confirmed by relatives noting he was almost never seen naked by his wife, even at home. Those who knew him described him as methodical, punctual, and dedicated to his work. Weekends were often spent on routine tasks or property maintenance. He was seen driving his children to activities, running errands, managing his stores. He seemed effortlessly integrated into daily life, with no visible link to the string of disappearances troubling the region. Over the years, subtle connections began appearing in police files. The missing men shared common points. They were often seen in similar areas, some frequenting clubs or bars identified by investigators, and their comings and goings occasionally aligned with periods when Baumeister was absent or traveling. Investigators examined bank records, work schedules, phone calls, transactions. Micro-tensions emerged. Why would a man with such normal habits regularly travel to isolated areas near the White River, with no clear reason? The turning point came in 1994, when Baumeister's son, playing near the family property, Fox Hollow Farm, uncovered a partially buried human skull. 2 years later, in 1996, after a series of unresolved disappearances of young men, police obtained a search warrant for Fox Hollow Farm. There, investigators discovered something unimaginable. Thousands of human bone fragments gathered in multiple locations on the property, at least 11 belonging to identified men. Analysis by forensic anthropologists revealed indisputable material evidence: human remains, structured deposition sites, personal items linked to the missing. Some remains dated to the late 1980s, others more recent, indicating a long criminal activity that had eluded law enforcement for years. Investigators reconstructed Baumeister's method. He primarily targeted men alone in bars or public spaces, invited them under false pretenses, then transported them to isolated areas near Fox Hollow Farm. There, he killed them using methods that minimized visible traces, then buried or concealed the remains on his property. The consistency of his pattern, repeated across more than 20 victims, explains how he remained undetected for so long. Baumeister was never tried for these crimes. Once authorities obtained a warrant and he realized police were closing in, he left the country and went to Canada, where he ended his life in July 1996 in an Ontario provincial park. He left a note expressing regrets about his marriage and affairs, but made no mention of the bodies found on his property or the crimes attributed to him. Years later, families still attempt to identify all victims among the thousands of bone fragments recovered, some identified using modern DNA analysis. More than 20 victims are now believed to have been buried at Fox Hollow Farm. This case raises a chilling question. How could a man who appeared perfectly ordinary, entrepreneur, father, community member, orchestrate a systematic, methodical, invisible killing operation for years, leaving behind traces so profound yet undetected for so long?